Despite claims of a resounding victory, former President Donald Trump secured just over 50% of the popular vote in the 2024 presidential election, raising questions about the extent of his mandate. Trump garnered 50.3% of votes, amounting to 76,932,623, according to recent tallies.
So, Claire, that's Margaret Hoover in an interview with Aaron Burnett over on CNN. And I just want to underscore what she says. I watched him run an organization poorly, lose the confidence of donors. The organization ultimately folded and was forced to merge with another organization whose individuals could run and manage the funds on behalf of donors. I mean, in the instance of being the United States Secretary of Defense, the donors are the taxpayers, right? And the thing you mismanage is the deployment of active duty troops. Have you heard from any of your former colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle who are worried about those disqualifying attributes?
I think all of that. We have not, the conversations I've had, we have not talked specifically about the exit yet. I can tell you there's a great deal of concern about the kind of nominees he is making in terms of their role of advice and consent, whether it's Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, or this ridiculous Kash Patel nomination for the FBI. There seems to be, I mean, Donald Trump is really kind of overplaying his hand here. He didn't get 50% of the American vote. He got less than 50% of the American vote. And he is going to the very ends of the earth in terms of extremism to fill these roles. And I think he's doing it based on who he thinks can talk well on television. He thinks that's the only thing you have to do because, frankly, that's what he does. He doesn't really manage much. He talks on television, watches television, talks on television, and does his thing on his social media app. But I do want to circle back to a point that my colleague made a few minutes ago about the fact that this is a volunteer force. If you have scandals at the Department of Defense, if you have a leader that has engaged in public drunkenness and dishonorable behavior, and frankly, remember, even committing adultery is a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, much less serial adultery, much less dancing on the stage with strippers. These are all violations of the military code that you can, in fact, be prosecuted for under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. How are we going to recruit people to come into this military? How are young men and women going to go, yeah, that's where I want to go. I want to lay my life on the line to follow that guy into battle. It's a real problem. I mean, character and integrity are so important in law enforcement. They're even in some ways more important, if you can imagine, in the military, because all of these organizations depend on people signing up to do these various, very, very dangerous jobs.
Former Senator Claire McCaskill criticized Trump's leadership and nominee choices, calling them extreme and unfit for roles like FBI Director and Secretary of Defense. He didn't get 50% of the vote, McCaskill stated inaccurately during a broadcast, misrepresenting the data, now confirming his slim majority. Trump's cabinet selections, including Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, have drawn sharp criticism from political opponents, with concerns over their qualifications and the precedents set for future administrations. McCaskill emphasized the impact of character on public service, referencing the military's strict ethical standards as a measure for effective leadership. Although Trump's win secured Republican control of Congress, analysts note parallels to President Biden's 2020 victory, which also relied on narrow margins and swing state success. Both elections highlight a divided electorate, complicating narratives of dominance on either side. The presidency comes with significant authority on its own, said political analyst Margaret Hoover, warning against overinterpretation of the results. A slim majority isn't a sweeping mandate, and framing it as such could lead to misguided policymaking and governance. Trump's critics argue that the portrayal of his victory as a decisive win risks emboldening policies that could further polarize the nation. Meanwhile, Republicans celebrate regaining control of key government branches, setting the stage for 4 years of significant legislative and executive activity.